For decades, fans of Family Affair have wondered what really went on behind the scenes between Brian Keith and his young co-star, Johnny Whitaker. On screen, Keith was the warm, fatherly figure who guided Whitaker's character, Jody, through the ups and downs of life. But off-screen, the truth was far more complicated. And until now, Whitaker has remained mostly silent. At 65, Johnny Whitaker is finally opening up, revealing the real dynamics between himself and Keith during the height of their fame. What he shares isn't just gossip. It's a window into the pressures of child stardom, the responsibilities of adult co-stars, and the sometimes overlooked struggles that come with life in Hollywood. Fans are shocked, saddened, and sometimes even inspired by his revelations. Whitaker's account isn't just about hardship. It's about mentorship, boundaries, and the moments that shaped him into the man he is today. Brian Keith, beloved as Bill Davis, was more than an actor to Whitaker. He was a complex figure whose kindness was often mixed with the harsh realities of Hollywood life. The stories Whitaker tells shed light on both the tenderness and the tension, the support and the misunderstandings that marked their relationship. Now, after more than 5 decades, Whitaker feels ready to share the truth, to honor the lessons, acknowledge the struggles, and give fans the behind-the-scenes look they've always wondered about. This is the story of Johnny Whitaker and Brian Keith. The untold truths, the emotional highs and lows, and the reflections of a man who has finally decided to speak out. In 1966, Family Affair premiered on CBS, quickly becoming one of the most beloved family sitcoms of the era. Johnny Whitaker, then just 7 years old, was cast as Jody Davis, the spirited, lovable boy whose antics brought laughter into living rooms across America. Alongside him was Brian Keith, the charismatic adult lead playing Bill Davis, the caring but often bewildered uncle trying to manage the challenges of raising 3 orphan children. On screen, their chemistry was seamless, warm, genuine, and heartwarming. But behind the scenes, life on set was far more complex than fans realized. Child actors, especially those as young as Whitaker, were navigating a world that mixed play with intense professionalism. Whitaker recalls feeling the pressure of memorizing lines, hitting marks, and delivering performances that felt natural, all while adjusting to the fast-paced rhythm of a major television production. For a child, the demands were immense, and the support system on set became critically important. Brian Keith, as the adult co-star, carried a dual responsibility, portraying a fatherly figure on screen while also serving as a de facto mentor for the young actors around him. Whitaker remembers moments when Keith's guidance went beyond acting tips, offering advice on handling life in the public eye, dealing with long hours, and navigating the emotional toll of being a child star. There was a nurturing side to Keith that Whitaker appreciated deeply, moments that still resonate with him decades later. Yet, the relationship wasn't without tension. Keith was a perfectionist in his own way, often pushing Whitaker and other child actors to deliver more nuanced, believable performances. Whitaker has admitted that at times it felt overwhelming, and like many child actors, he struggled with the weight of responsibility placed on such small shoulders. Keith's intensity could be intimidating, but Whitaker now reflects that those challenges taught him resilience, focus, and professionalism at a very young age. Life outside the studio also added layers to the experience. Whitaker, like many child actors of his time, had to balance school, family expectations, and the public attention that came with national fame. The sets were both a classroom and a stage, with Brian Keith often serving as the anchor in a whirlwind world. It was a delicate balance of mentorship, discipline, and friendship, a dynamic that Whitaker only fully understands now, decades later. Whitaker's reflections reveal a duality. Brian Keith was both a source of comfort and a figure of strict authority. While the warmth of their on-screen relationship captured the hearts of viewers, The off-screen reality was a complex interplay of support, challenge, and growing pains. And for Whitaker, those experiences would leave an indelible mark, shaping not just his career, but the person he would become. Now, at 65, looking back on the years of family affair, Whitaker can speak openly about those formative days. The laughter, the tears, the lessons learned, and the truths that fans never knew. The story isn't just about nostalgia, it's about growth, understanding, and finally acknowledging the man behind the beloved uncle who shaped his early life. While Family Affair brought joy to millions of viewers, the reality behind the cameras was far more complicated than the warm, humorous scenes that aired weekly. For Johnny Whitaker, being a child star came with pressures that few outsiders could fully comprehend. Long hours on set, constant retakes, and the demand to stay on emotionally and mentally were challenges that could overwhelm any adult, let alone a 7-year-old boy. Brian Keith, who played the responsible, caring uncle on screen, was a central figure in managing this delicate balance. Whitaker recalls Keith as a complex mentor, kind and protective at times, yet strict and exacting when it came to performance. The veteran actor knew what the show needed to succeed, and wasn't shy about pushing the young cast to reach those standards. While his guidance often helped Whitaker grow as an actor, there were moments when it felt like a heavy weight, a pressure to perform perfectly at all times. Whitaker has shared that there were days when he would leave the set emotionally drained, struggling with the expectations of adults who were supposed to guide him. He loved acting, but the intensity of television production left little room for the carefree life of a child. The cameras captured smiles, laughter, and playful mischief. But behind the scenes, Whitaker had to navigate fatigue, nerves, and the constant need to meet Keith's high expectations. Yet, it wasn't all hardship. Keith's mentorship also had moments of genuine warmth and connection. Whitaker remembers times when Keith would offer reassurance, share personal stories from his own youth, or provide advice about handling life under the public eye. These glimpses of humanity helped Whitaker survive the pressures of Hollywood and find his footing as a young performer. The complexity of Keith's personality, tough yet caring, demanding yet supportive, became a formative influence on Whitaker's understanding of responsibility and professionalism. Whitaker also reflects on the broader environment of child acting in the 1960s and 70s, when protections for young performers were far less stringent than today. There was an unspoken expectation that kids had to tough it out and adapt quickly to adult work routines. Keith's role as both co-star and mentor was pivotal, but it also meant Whitaker had to navigate a relationship that mixed friendship with authority, a dynamic that could be confusing and emotionally taxing at times. Looking back, Whitaker recognizes that these challenges shaped him in profound ways. The struggles behind the cameras, coupled with the guidance he received, taught him resilience, empathy, and discipline. He acknowledges that Brian Keith was far from perfect, but his influence was undeniable. The combination of challenge and mentorship created a bond that, while complicated, left a lasting impact on Whitaker's life and career. Now, more than 5 decades later, Whitaker can finally share these truths openly. He speaks not to criticize, but to give fans a deeper understanding of the man behind the beloved uncle figure. Keith was a mentor, a guide, and at times a demanding presence. And it's this duality that Whitaker wants the world to understand. It's a story of childhood, growth, and the sometimes messy but ultimately meaningful relationships formed on one of television's most iconic sets. As the years went on, Johnny Whitaker's relationship with Brian Keith became a mix of mentorship, friendship, and at times, tension. On screen, their bond appeared effortless, the caring uncle and his lively young charge. Off-screen, however, it was a delicate balance of guidance, discipline, and growing pains. Whitaker has admitted that some of Keith's methods were challenging, even intimidating for a child. but ultimately, they left a lasting mark. Whitaker recalls specific moments when Keith pushed him to deliver a more authentic performance. In one scene, the young actor struggled to convey complex emotions that were beyond his years. Keith reportedly spent hours coaching him, repeating takes until Whitaker captured the depth of feeling required. At the time, it felt exhausting and overwhelming, but now, Whitaker reflects on those moments as lessons in perseverance and emotional expression. Beyond the technical guidance, Keith taught Whitaker about navigating the unique pressures of being a child star. From handling media attention to managing long filming schedules, Keith's experience became a guiding force. He showed Whitaker how to maintain professionalism even when tired or frustrated, and instilled an understanding of the discipline necessary to succeed in Hollywood. These lessons were tough to learn at the time, but they became invaluable as Whitaker matured both personally and professionally. Yet, the relationship wasn't purely about work. There were moments of genuine warmth and camaraderie that Whitaker remembers fondly. Keith would share stories from his own life, offer encouragement, and at times simply make Whitaker laugh to ease tension on set. These instances created a bond of trust, showing the young actor that Keith's demanding nature came from a place of care and responsibility. It wasn't always easy to see at the time, but Whitaker now recognizes the positive intent behind Keith's guidance. Whitaker has also reflected on the emotional challenges of growing up in the spotlight. Being a child actor meant that life often felt like a performance, and balancing school, friendships, and personal growth was difficult. Keith's presence as a mentor provided structure, but it also highlighted the complexities of adult expectations placed on a child. Whitaker has candidly shared that these experiences were formative, teaching him resilience, empathy, and the importance of understanding others' perspectives, lessons that have stayed with him throughout his life. At 65, Whitaker can finally look back without the fear or confusion he felt as a child. He acknowledges the tension, the tough lessons, and the moments of frustration, but also the laughter, mentorship, and guidance that shaped him. His reflections paint a nuanced picture of Brian Keith, a man who could be both exacting and compassionate, challenging yet supportive, and ultimately, someone whose influence helped Whitaker grow into the man he is today. For fans of Family Affair, these revelations offer a deeper understanding of the dynamic between Whitaker and Keith. Beyond the iconic performances and beloved episodes, there was a real human story of growth, mentorship, and the bittersweet realities of child stardom. It's a story that is as emotional and layered as any of the episodes they filmed together. Now, at 65, Johnny Whitaker looks back on his years with Brian Keith with a mixture of gratitude, understanding, and honesty. The experiences on Family Affair shaped him in ways that extend far beyond acting. What many fans remember as a simple on-screen friendship was, behind the cameras, a complex mentorship that taught Whitaker lessons about life, work, and relationships that he still carries today. Whitaker emphasizes that Brian Keith was far from perfect. There were moments of tension, frustration, and even fear, especially when the pressures of production weighed heavily on a child. Yet, those challenging experiences were part of what made Keith's guidance so valuable. Whitaker explains that Keith had a way of demanding excellence while simultaneously offering support, helping him navigate the tricky balance of professionalism and childhood innocence. Looking back, Whitaker sees the value in those lessons. He reflects on how Keith prepared him not just for the pressures of acting, but for life beyond the screen. Discipline, patience, and resilience were daily requirements on set, and learning to manage them at such a young age gave Whitaker tools he would carry into adulthood. The lessons weren't always easy to absorb, but they were enduring. Whitaker also speaks warmly of the moments that brought them together in genuine connection. Quiet conversations, shared laughter between takes, and small gestures of care left lasting impressions. Keith's mentorship wasn't just about acting. It was about teaching respect, responsibility, and empathy. Those qualities shaped Whitaker's character and his understanding of how relationships, even complex ones, can leave a positive impact. Even after Keith's passing in 1997, Whitaker has continued to reflect on the profound influence the veteran actor had on his life. He acknowledges that some of the challenges of working with Keith were difficult at the time, but now he sees them as invaluable life lessons. Sharing these experiences publicly is Whitaker's way of honoring Keith, revealing the human side of a man who was more than the characters he played. For viewers, Whitaker's reflections offer a rare glimpse into the realities of child stardom and the delicate dynamics between adult co-stars and young performers. It reminds us that behind the laughter and memorable episodes, there are real human stories of mentorship, growth, struggle, and connection. Whitaker's honesty allows fans to appreciate both the challenges and the enduring lessons that came from his time on set. Ultimately, the story of Johnny Whitaker and Brian Keith is one of complexity and depth. It is a testament to how guidance, even when tough or demanding, can leave a lasting mark. At 65, Whitaker shares this truth not with bitterness, but with reflection and gratitude. It's a story that resonates because it's real, showing that even in Hollywood, where illusions dominate the screen, human connections and the lessons we carry from them remain profoundly real. Whitaker's candid revelations ensure that the legacy of Brian Keith, both as an actor and mentor, is remembered in its full complexity. A man who challenged, guided, and shaped a young life in ways that continue to echo decades later. For fans, this is more than nostalgia. It's a heartfelt understanding of the people behind the magic of television.